Hello everyone, my name is Armando Perez-Carreno and welcome to the Web Talk Show. Today with us is Alberto Padilla. He's CEO and founder of Briq.mx. Welcome Alberto, how are you?
Great. Thank you, Armando. Thank you for hosting me here. Glad to see you after so many years.
Yes, so many years. Alberto and I met many years ago in the software space, and we're just reminiscing about those days and all the stuff that has happened since. Alberto, can you tell the audience a little bit about what Briq.mx is, and then also how you got to this point, how you got to build this company?
Sure. So I'll try to make the story short. So basically what we do at Briq.mx is a crowdfunding platform for real estate projects. What does it mean is, in one hand, there are like real estate projects that need financing, and we function as a financial institution that can give them credit or any type of financing. But on the other side, instead of having our own money, our own balance sheet money to lend it, we open those opportunities that we previously vetted to the public. Imagine as a stock exchange where there are like IPOs. So in our case, we do like small IPOs for real estate project finance, and the people, they can analyze the opportunities, put their money in, and once the money is like the minimum amount of money is set and the goal is reached, we give the money to the real estate developer. But also we serve as a party that gives all the follow-up, like collecting, following up, like the progress of if it's a construction, the progress of the construction and everything. So we are like the part in between the opportunity, the offer and the demand, right? The offer being the real estate project, and the demand, the public wanting to invest. The attractive thing is that you can invest from as little as probably will be like $25.
Oh, wow.
And it's in Mexico, it's in pesos. Mm-hmm. That's a brief summary of what Briq does. And how I got here is, it's a fun story, but since I have been a web-based entrepreneur since probably 15 years now. So we tried several companies. Some of them went really bad and we learned a lot, but some of them made it, I will say, good enough. And we had the opportunity to sell two of them. After the first company that we sold, we as partners, we decided to start investing in different things. Because, as an entrepreneur, you start with no money. At least for you. You start with money for your company, but not for you. But once you make your first exit, then you have money, and you need to start making something with that money. So every one of us decided to invest in real estate in some way. My one partner bought an apartment. I bought like two specific land projects, and we decided like how can we do it more? Like have a portfolio of real estate. We decided to start thinking together and say like, why don't we buy some real estate properties together? But then we decided like, if we do this, why don't we open it to some other people, probably friends and family, and we gather like a small fund. But then our nature is like tech nature, right?
Yeah.
So we thought, okay, we can do like a small platform to follow up your investment. And then we thought like, probably this could be a big business if we open it to the public. And we started researching, and of course it was not like our idea. I mean, there were other ideas in the world doing this, and we saw that there's like a specific industry called crowdfunding, and we said like, okay, in Mexico there are no real estate crowdfunding, let's do this. And that's how we started Briq.
That's amazing. And I seem to remember when I was chatting with Benito, who works with you, and he was on the show. If anyone hasn't listened to that episode, it's a very fun episode. It's part of that transition into, okay, now let's make it bigger, let's make it for other people, and let's use tech, right? You didn't just decide, oh, let's take 24 months or 36 months to build this mega platform and slowly get it out. You were like, let's dive in, get it out, and then figure it out, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's what I learned from, being an entrepreneur, trying ideas. You need to try ideas out and fail fast, because you can fail. You can take so many years failing, or figuring out that you're failing, and that's that costs you a lot. So we decided, okay, let's try it. And in order to do it, let's try to do the minimum thing just to get the first use case done. In our case, it was present the opportunity to the public and accept their money. So you don't need to be a fintech. You don't need to have like financial rails. You just need like a bank account and a phone number, and and a small website presenting the opportunity. So that's what we did. We put a small website where we presented the first opportunity. Of course, first you need to find the opportunity, right? But imagine you have all that. So it was a very first version of a website, but it was just presenting the opportunity, and it said like the amount needed to fund this opportunity, but it was plain HTML, right? So every time someone said click on I'm interested, we manually sent an email with the deposit instructions. And then we called our banker saying like, if you receive a deposit of 5,000 pesos in the next hour, please let us know. And then he called back and said like, I already had the deposit from this guy. So we changed the HTML, like the progress bar manually. And that's how we started, because that was the very first thing you needed. You don't have like thousands of users at the first minute. You have your first user, right?
That is incredible, because people immediately start thinking, oh, but scale, and I have to, let me get these connections, and let me get this account with this other thing and do the rails. And that takes so much time and money and effort, and you don't even know if it's going to work. So what you did was brilliant, because at the end of the day, well, we're all humans. You're doing a transaction between you, a human that owns the company, and another human that wants to do the thing. Nobody cares what happens in between, as long as they say, I'm interested, and they can give you the money, and you're going to use it for the right thing, and they can see the progress. That's it, right? So
exactly. And well, in finance, there's like one very important thing, that is trust.
Yes.
So you need to at least look so professional that you can give that trust. But you don't need like an automated website. You just need like a good looking, good wording, well presented website. And that's one thing that you can do by yourself, and like putting just enough care on the details. And that gives the trust, not the big platform behind that, right?
Exactly. Especially because people don't see the platform. They just see the website, and what you did by updating the HTML and all that is completely valid. What they care about is being able to see the dashboard updating and seeing that there's progress. And if it's someone doing it behind the scenes by hand, who cares? As long as it's being done and things are being tracked.
And when you have like 10 users, you can manage them manually, right? Of course, when you reach thousands of users, like recurrent users, then you need to help yourself with tools, right?
Yes. I remember when we first started doing the Facebook workshops a very long time ago, we did something similar. We would put up a little landing page, and it was all manual. People would sign up and get a link that we would actually send them the link to pay. The first thing, they would get an email. We would get the email. We would then draft an email with the link, send it, and then when they did, then we would send we had pre-drafted replies for everything. But you do it by hand first, and like you said, you fail fast, or you know that it's going to work fast, and eventually you get into the whole thing, because I see so many people getting stuck in that, like, which tool do I use, and implementing the whole cycle even before they get their first visitor on the website.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, there's so many ways to do things that you need to focus on what you want to achieve. And many times entrepreneurs think what they want to achieve is to build this company. But that's a mistake. What they want to do is like to solve a problem to a specific person, right? And to get paid for that. So if you focus on the first thing, the other will come later, right?
Yes. How did you determine that it was going to be a good idea for like retail investors or regular people to just put money in? How did you get to a point where you're like, okay, this might work for more than just friends and family?
Yeah, well, of course, the first thing was like the first proxy for that was our friends, right?
Mm-hmm.
If at the beginning our friends were saying like, no, I don't know, that sounds complicated, then you have like the first red flag, right, or the first flag to address. But since that went like smoothly, then we tried like opening to more people. So the first thing we opened it to friends of our friends. We didn't put like a marketing money first. We said like, okay, you already invested. Like in crowdfunding, you have this fear of missing out and way to achieve things, because you present the opportunity and the opportunity is limited, right? Like you need to fund like $1 million, but that's finite amount, right? So we started telling our friends like, okay, now we need to fulfill this opportunity, right? We need to reach the goal. Do you have any other people that will be interested? And of course, when you put your money in, then it's like you become like an ambassador of your decision. So you go out and you say like, oh, I did this because I'm smart, because I know this opportunity, because and that gives us like a small network effect at first, right? So that's how we went, like from friends to friends of our friends, then to people we didn't know, but not what we knew that came through someone. And then after like probably was like after 2 years, we decided to put some money in, some marketing money in. And there was another thing that I would say it's like kind of organic, because crowdfunding was like a novel thing in Mexico. So we were like in the first part of that wave, and that wave makes noise by itself. And of course, there was also some other, I'll say, also other organic noise that we can make. We made, because since I came from selling my company, that moment was in some way public and went to the press, and I got some coverage, reporters doing interviews, and so they will always ask like, "What are you doing now?" So I took advantage of those little things and put it into the soup of Briq. So that was like a good mix of organic reach. And then after 2 years, we started making some small marketing investments to reach like unknown people.
That's something that's very important. Many people also think they have a great idea and immediately put marketing spend on it. And it can be very expensive very fast without having proven anything.
Sure. And actually something very specific of this kind of companies, that like a financial company where you invest in a product that the life cycle of that product will be like probably 2 years. So imagine you invest in the development of a building. That building won't pay you back like in 2 hours or 2 days, right? It's different if you buy software online. You buy it and then you get the value like right after, right? In an investment, the value comes after some period of time. So our cycle was at least 2 years. So we were kind of cautious because it was our money and our friends' money, and we decided to go like easy on that. Like let's find out what happens through all the cycle before just like inviting everyone there. So that was other thing that we need to take care of that, right? But yeah, as you mentioned, people normally say like, oh, I have this and I got busy money, so I need to explode. But normally things go their way. Even if you put like so many external things, the nature of the thing will find their way, right?
Yes. And we can even think of Facebook when it started, like it or hate it, whether you listeners like Mark Zuckerberg, they don't like them, they don't like Meta's practice, whatever. That company that we all used, even maybe you don't use it now so much, or maybe you do, whatever. When it started, everyone used it, right? And it didn't start as a whole world thing. It started as a college thing. So it was that had that same circle of trust at the beginning, where it was people that you knew because they were in your university or they had that edu domain. and it started growing, and then you started getting extra connections, and then eventually it got opened up. But at the beginning it had that both of those aspects that you were talking about, that circle of trust, but also the fear of missing out, like, oh, everyone's in it and I'm not in it. I want to be there, and you've got all that. So, and look at it now, right? It's one of the most valuable companies in the world, and it's not by accident, I think.
Exactly.
One of the things that people think about when building a business is, I need to sell directly to the person. And that can be expensive because you have to do marketing or advertising or social media, whatever you want to do. You have to place yourself there, and it's all on your dime. So one of the things you mentioned right now is, I think is very important to bring out, because the crowdfunding aspect of it is super valuable. We've had discussions with people who do marketing for crowdfunding and things like that before. And it's very interesting because, like you said, when you put money in, then it's more likely that you're going to say to someone, hey, I think this is a great opportunity. And then they trust you, and then they might do it. And then they might tell someone else. And you now have this sort of affiliate network, which are not necessarily affiliates, but they have it in their own best interest to market for you, right? To let people know about the deal.
Exactly. And I think that happens in many long-term relation products. Imagine a school. I'm a father. My daughter has 11 years now. But I remember when we chose the first school for our daughter, it was kind of like that. Like, once you made your decision, then you need to defend your decision, because your daughter will be, will be there and will be educated there. So you need to defend your decision. So you become an ambassador of that school.
Yes.
In the very first moment you made your decision, right? And of course you will recognize there are other schools, but you need to make your point why you choose that. So it's the same on investing. You won't say like, no, this investing is very bad, that's why I do it, right?
Yes.
I made it. No, you need to defend your investment in some way. So that's one thing I really like about long-term relation products. Not one time off, like, I sold you this chocolate, that's it, go there. So in this case, we really build a relation. And that's one thing that I always say about financial products. The selling comes at the end, not at the beginning. Because it will be very easy just to tell you like the attractive points of the investment and say like and I can count you as a customer once you put your money in, and that'll be nice and my KPIs will look great. But the real selling is how it went for you. Did you get your money back with the expected return or not? That's the real moment of trust in an investment. So you need to take care of that like really carefully. And that also makes you like, if you focus on the product quality instead of the marketing quality, then the product will sell by itself, right? If you get your return, then you will speak about the product and you will be happy about the product. So that's the approach we decided to have in Briq. And so far it's going really well. I mean, we have 11 years now. Our marketing budget is less than 1,500 pesos. Sorry, $1,500. So it's like 25 something thousand pesos. And that's our only marketing spent, even 11 years after we founded the company.
Wow. That is incredible. You don't typically hear those numbers. And especially that far in. So when you're so long in the process, one of two things could happen. One is you're doing so great that, you don't need marketing at all, which seems to be the case. But the other is other people are listening and they start to try to catch up, and they might come in with more investment money to just pour on ads and things like that, and then make your advertising more expensive and make the whole thing more expensive. And then so that doesn't happen. But the fact that it happened this way tells us two very important things. One is that your marketing works great. Or two, which is the more likely, the what you just said is true. You focused very much on the outcome, on that return for the customer, that the customer themselves have become ambassadors for the brand. such that they'll either reinvest or tell other people about it, and that just builds so much trust that you have a gap between you and your competitors.
Exactly. And that you need time to build that. It's not like instantaneous. So it's a specific type of business. Another thing that I think that I did different in Briq than in other companies is that I became the first user, and I have been the top user since then. So the platform is useful for many people, but also for me. It's a way for me to have my real estate portfolio, right? So that make you focus on the quality of the product, because you are building in some way for you. And if you are satisfied, some other people will be satisfied. And it's very difficult if you are not the consumer of your product. And that's normally the case, right? It's normally the case. You build a product for other people, but doesn't apply for you for any reason. And in this case, as I mentioned, it's a long-term relation with the customer. So I'm the first customer, and I really want my investments to go well. And I'm not the only one investing. Many people is investing. So I will take care of my investment, and side effect will take care of many other people's investment, right?
That's actually great advice for anyone building a product or service. Be your own customer if possible, because that's true. We find so much that people will build something and then they even test it like crazy, and everything's great. But then when actual users start having it, it's a mess, and there's a bunch of bugs, and there's a bunch of things, and it's not necessarily that it was badly created, but that nobody in the team or the test environment was an actual user. So you never thought of the actual use cases that people would
exactly
take.
And for me, that's very important. In fact, we have like an internal policy that's called Todos invertimos. We all invest. So on top of your salary, we give you 1,000 pesos. It's not that much, it's just 1,000 pesos, but those are tagged to invest through the platform. So you need to invest those 1,000 pesos through the platform every month. And if you don't, we discount that from the next payroll, right? So it's just a way to say you need to be user, right? I don't know your financials. I don't know how are you doing. I hope you're doing well, because we're a financial company. We will help you for that. But if you work in Briq, you need to use Briq. So I'll make sure as an employer that you have the tools to become our customer, right? So that's what we do, and that have give us a lot of insights, because as you mentioned, use cases, even bugs, you find bugs that way, and many other things. So I really think it's a very important thing to do in any product, if possible, as you mentioned.
That is very interesting that you do that, because it incentivizes employees to use the product, yes, but then also allows you to help these people, because some people will be great with their finances, many, especially because they're working in a finance company, but then others won't. Will make mistakes, or maybe they overextended themselves or whatever. But at least with this, they have a way to have some sort of investment, regardless, right? That is sort of supported by the company, but they're active on it. It's not like a 401k or something that's just there and then it's sort of managed somewhere and you have no idea what's going on. They have an active role in keeping it.
Exactly, and they need to decide which opportunity they will choose. They need to at least log in, right, to do it.
That is very, very nice. You mentioned a threshold, right? There's a limit or threshold that has to be met for that deal to actually work or go out, or the money to be disbursed, right? So how does that process work? Can you explain it a little?
So there are two constraints: the amount and the time. Yeah. So when we publish a campaign, this is something we do with the real estate developer, like the people behind that opportunity, and we decide a minimum amount and a time limit. So let's say we need to reach $500,000 in 2 weeks. If one of those doesn't happen, then the money goes back to the investors. What we do is, in the meantime, the money is invested in a liquidity fund that has like a 1-day liquidity and a very, very safe return. I mean, it's like super ultra low risk. Normally it's invested in governmental instruments with 1 day term. So if one of those constraints isn't breached, then we give back the money with the small interest that they made during the process, right? And that's important because that incentivizes you to be in the campaign at the beginning or when you want, not to wait till the end, right?
Okay. That's
because
smart.
if you wait till the end, probably you can miss out, right? So if both constraints are met, I mean, you reach the minimum amount in the specific time, then we give you the money. And after you reach the minimum amount, normally there's like a gap or there's a real maximum amount. Because we won't give them more money than what they need, right? That will be like also a bad investment. So in between, like the real estate developer can gather the money in between those amounts, and then when the time comes, he calls the money. We call them execute the campaign, and we give them the money, and then all the things really start happening. I mean, like all the follow up and all the the specific following up tools and questions that we have, and the reporting and everything, right?
Interesting. Okay, so when it gets to that threshold, then it's valid, and then at that point they can call the money, and then the whole process starts. So what does that look like from a company that's asking for the funds, right? From their perspective, what is it that happens compared to, let's say, they ask a bank for a loan instead of something like this?
Yeah, so there's I would say it's like I don't know if in English it's a saying, but it's like a two-way sword, like a espada de dos filos.
Double-edged sword, yes.
Because in one hand, you will have 1,000 investors, normally 2,000 investors, but also it means that you will have 2,000 pair of eyes watching you. So if you want to do something, on the gray side or on the dark side, it will be more difficult because there are people waiting for your reports, and probably people, going through your development site. And if you are closed, the construction is closed because of a permit or whatever, people will find out, right? And with the bank it's a little bit different because the bank won't be going every day to your development site. So in a way, it's a very positive thing because then you have 2,000 ambassadors, and you can sell to them one of the units, or you can promote your product. That at the end, the product of the real estate developer is the unit that you build, an apartment, a local, or whatever. So that's what happens. So of course, there's the obligation to pay back. Normally, some interest during the period. Normally, it's every 3 months, or sometimes every month, and the capital you need to pay at the end of the term. But also you need to start reporting. So we call them updates. You need to give updates to your investors. Normally we ask for at least one update per month, and the update could be something so simple as we're going as projected, or we already finish up, all the setup, or we're already on the first floor. And normally we try to ask for photographs and videos, and sometimes we go, of course. It's not we trust them with our closed eyes, right? So we go there, we make a visit, and we make our progress estimation. But the real estate developer needs to start talking to their customers. And by talking, it's just giving updates. It's not a two-way talking, because if not, it will be a really mess for the real estate developer, right? He will say I don't have time to give one-on-ones to 2,000 people. 2,000 people. So but you can give a stream an update, and people will react. Like in our social network, where it's a very specific social network, people will react positively, negatively, neutral, and will give you a comment. So you will gather feedback from your audience like that. And that's it. Of course, sounds simple, but it's not that simple. You need to build, do, and then communicate, right?
Okay. And do you see people or companies, real estate developers, reaching for something like this more because of things like that? Like, I know it sounds like, why would you want that? But at the same time, you sort of do want that because it keeps you accountable and forces you to go forward.
And also, in this specific case, real estate developers normally they don't make a brand, at least in Mexico. It's very difficult if you go to any building and you ask one of the people living there, like, who built your department? They will say, like, a constructor, you know, a real estate developer. They don't know the brand, you know, like, my shoes has a brand. I know which brand it is, right? But not my house doesn't have a brand. So this is a way for real estate developers to make a brand, you know, like to expose them as a brand to the public. The brand is not like labeled in the house, but it's labeled on their process and in the minds of the people that invested through them. Because normally a real estate developer won't make just one project. They will go and do many, many projects. So you want your community of investors to be close to you in some way. So that's a good thing. But at the end, this is a financial industry, right? I mean, and the financials dictates what's happened. So if the financing in Briq is expensive, even though they have, like, you know, this thing of having the opportunity to make a brand, if it's too expensive, they will go to the bank. So that's the balance. Sometimes they do accept a little more expensive interest rate than the bank, a little bit, because they have this, you know, this branding or this awareness thing. But if not, they won't do it. They won't accept a high interest rate, right?
Of course, yeah, like everything. It'll ban it. Or sometimes they can't use the bank for whatever reason, or they don't like using the bank, and they might prefer to do something like this as well.
Exactly. As I mean, everything has its cost, right?
Yes.
Sometimes it's like, okay, but everything has its cost.
Do you find people that invest once that cycle runs, because you've gone through a few cycles already through the years, do you see them doing it again and again after they've...
You mean like the investors
the
or the real
investors,
estate
yes.
developers?
The investors.
Yeah, of course, because actually we encourage them. Like, it's not to put all your money in one specific project. So we say, like, okay, if you have this amount of money, divide it in 10 different projects, because that's one of the good things of making the entrance ticket so low. You can start trying or, you know, testing your investment strategy with small tickets, but in different projects. So yes, and actually when they get their money back, of course, they're like saying, like, okay, these are the new opportunities, you know, take the interest compound effect, the compound effect, so your money really grows. And that's one thing that we try to do. And the same happens with the real estate developers. Once they finish one project, they will ask for another financing for the next project with us. Normally, that's what they do.
Interesting. And so the barrier to entry is very low as an investor, but can they invest whatever they want, or is there a limit? Like, let's say I can invest $25, but can I invest $100,000?
Yes.
Are there limitations, or are there people actually using it that way and they just like the type of platform?
Yeah, so actually that's one surprise that we got at the beginning. We first thought that our target will be like young people with some money, but not that much money, and they will invest, you know, 5,000 pesos here, 500 pesos there. But then we start getting like some high net worth individuals investing through the platform. And we reach to them and ask them why. They say, like, because it's a good opportunity to diversify. Because instead of buying an apartment of 10 million pesos, I can put 1 million pesos in 10 different projects. And that's a diversification strategy. So that's a good surprise. We have like these two types of profiles, like the early investor, the one that is like learning how to invest, or at least in the very early days of their investment or building their portfolio, and there are the other ones that have already a big portfolio and a big wealth, and they use us as another instrument. So that's a good thing. But there's a limit. We are a regulated company. That's important to say. It's a regulated activity in Mexico by the equivalent of the SEC in the United States. It's called the CNBV in Mexico, Comisión Nacional Bancaria de Valores, and they put us a limit. I don't know exactly why, but there's like a limit on the top side. You cannot invest more than 1 million pesos in each opportunity. And I think they make that to force you to diversify. Mm-hmm. So we cannot have, like this 5 million pesos opportunity and one guy saying like, I will fund it. Okay. You will need at least 5 of 1 million pesos.
Ah, interesting. Yeah. And it sort of makes sense, especially maybe there's some other reasons why they don't want that, because then it could lead to different practices that someone might get somebody to just do it, and how they have to build their rules to avoid certain things, I guess.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, every rules has its why, right?
Yeah. It's like when you see the history of industry and you see why the non-monopoly rules were created. Exactly. And all that. They weren't just created, it's that people were actually doing the things.
Exactly.
Taking advantage. Oh, this is super interesting. Have you ever seen any real estate developer like really take to the platform and instead of just giving brief updates, actually, I don't know, sending more videos and graphs and things and just getting their community excited so that they reinvest?
Sure, totally. Yeah. Even beyond that, there are some developers that give like benefits to their investments. Mm-hmm. A couple of weeks ago, we have one developer from Monterrey that I really like what they do, and they are the building is already finished, and they are selling the last units. Mm-hmm. And do you know these Argentinian guys, Catriel and Paco Amoroso, the musicians? Mm-hmm. Those guys were like playing in Monterrey, giving a concert. So he sent an invitation through our platform to the investors, because he was going to be hosting the musicians of Catriel and Paco Amoroso in the rooftop of the building. So it was like a private event, and he invited the investors.
Wow.
Because because they believe in him, so he said like, okay, there's this opportunity, come. So, and it was a really nice moment. I didn't went because this is in I didn't go because this is in Monterrey, but one member of our team, he went and says like, really nice. Those guys are amazing guys. They're super talented musicians. And that's the things that a developer can do to build really a community, right?
That's incredible. Yeah, I've seen and heard and talked with different people throughout the show about these types of crowdfunding exercises. Not just like, obviously not in real estate necessarily, but in different types of companies and initiatives. And it's amazing what a crowd can do. Like there's even crowd health over here, people that don't like insurance and how it works. There are these crowd-funded health things where you're in a plan and something happens, then the crowd pays for whatever happened. It's not an actual insurance. And it's nice, like people helping people, right?
Totally. It's like, I would say it's the disintermediation of industries. Mm-hmm. Even though we are like the intermediary of the industry, because we're the one that gathers all together and make in some way the rules or at least put the specific constraints. But what we're really doing is disintermediating an industry, because normally your money is the financing the real estate development, but you don't know that. Mm-hmm. And you don't get the returns from that. Right. Normally, it's just the bank taking your money that you trust is there, and they are making profit with your money. Now it's like, okay, why don't you do it by yourself, right? Wow.
Right. That is a great way to put it. It's true, right? It's just that's what's happening. But now you get a little more insights, and you get to choose where it goes and what happens to it.
Exactly, and that's possible because of technology, right? Because the access to the information, as you mentioned with the health industries, if people gather to have like this crowd insurance, it's because they can, because of the information. Before that, you needed like a central part that has the information to do that, and you were like blind to that. But now you're not, right?
Yes. Yeah. This is excellent. Alberto, I really appreciate you coming on the show and sharing with us about Briq, about how you've been changing the industry and the space. If anyone listening is in Mexico and has been thinking about maybe investing or things like that, obviously this is not investment advice. We cannot provide investment advice. Talk to your attorney about this. But check out Briq.mx. It's a great way to discover new ways of managing your money and perhaps diversifying as well. Alberto, do you want to share where people can find more information about Briq?
Sure. Like our website is the main entrance. Is BRIQ. That's important to say. It's we use a Q, and that's a nice thing we do with the logo, because the B is like the Q is the B, like that's flipped. So Briq.mx, and in social media we're as Briq.mx without the dot. But I think even if you don't invest or whatever, like I would love to hear from people about how we present the opportunities, how the company culture is projected in a website, whatever. Like I really like when people go beyond what they see, and if this is an opportunity to get some of that, I'll be more than glad.
Amazing. Thanks again. Thank you for sharing with us. And everyone, if you haven't liked and subscribed to the show, please do so that you can be aware whenever we have new episodes like this great one with Alberto. And we'll see you in the next one. Thanks, Alberto.
Thank you very much, Armando.